Hey friends, I'm Christy and you're listening to Rock the Damn Boat. If you've ever bitten your tongue to keep the peace or said yes when every part of you wanted to say no, this one's for you. We're diving into the messy, real stuff that people pleasers like me have spent years avoiding. It's time to have the hard conversations, shake things up, and learn to stand tall even when it makes waves. And while we might be embodying boat rocking energy here on this podcast, I am also a firm believer in wellness and mindfulness practices, which is why I am launching a membership that is Rock the Damn Boat meets the Rooted Soul, and I want you to be one of the founding members. I am offering a special introductory rate right now. You go to thrivewithchristy.com to learn more about the Thrive Collective, and I hope to see you there in the community. Now, speaking of community, being part of the podcast community has unlocked new connections and new conversations with some amazing women. We're embarking on a series of interviews with other podcasters. So if this has been on your heart or something that you've been interested in doing yourself, then you can learn about the journeys of the women who have gone before us. I just launched mine in October of last fall, leading up to my corporate exit. And even though I talk about people pleasing, we cover a variety of topics here on the show. I want it to inspire you to have your own boat rocking moment. And if that is starting a podcast, then I encourage you to listen to the next few episodes. Make sure you follow and subscribe and even hit the notification bell so that you don't miss a single episode. And if you are interested in diving deeper into the work that it takes to unlock your voice, that is what my Thrive program is all about. So you'll find it both in the new community that's launching and in the in-depth cohort that starts on May 6th. If you have any questions about that, please reach out to me. Otherwise, let's tune into the conversation. I am so excited to welcome today's guest, Courtney Koenig. She is the founder of the ROI of Peace and has her own podcast as well. She is a voice for women who want success that actually feels good. After 15 years in marketing and market research, working with Fortune 500 companies and decoding what really drives human behavior, Courtney shifted her focus to helping leaders and entrepreneurs build more sustainable, aligned lives and businesses. Her work is shaped not just by her career, but by her experience living with MS, something that forced her to slow down, get present, and lead from a place of deep self-care. And I'll get into how Courtney and I didn't almost meet, and all of that will be part of our conversation. But Courtney, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Christy, thank you so much for having me. I know it's it's so funny how we didn't meet, but then we met.
Yes.
So great. So I'm super happy to be here and I'm excited to have you on my podcast as well.
Yes, I'm excited to do a podcast swap. I feel like the universe was trying really hard to get us together because between the Create and Cultivate event where we were two ships passing, and then today we've spent 20 minutes trying to get on this call because Riverside was not agreeing with us, but we are here and we are ready to chat.
I know we're doing it, Yeah, I always do it.
Yes.
I always feel like meetings, and we're an entreprenista too, and like we were supposed to meet. So this is so exciting that we get to do this together. So
Absolutely. Well, I will tell the listeners, you are also in Texas, so that is one of the many things we have in common. But why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners and tell us a little about what you do?
yes. Initially, I got a degree in marriage and family therapy because I really wanted to do therapy. I wanted to do counseling and help people. And at the time of getting that, I was doing an internship and I was like, at the end, and I was like, oh gosh, I really don't want to do this actually. like, but it's too late. So I'm just going to graduate and whatever. So I had kind of fallen into marketing and market research. I have 4 kids. They're now adults, but as they were little, it just worked out. And I ended up traveling a lot towards the end of my career to lots of different sites and managing teams. And I was so tired of like the hustle and trying to keep up pace, but I was also so tired of that like corporate energy. And that was just like, oh, and I had never really been intentional about what I wanted. And so I thought this was around COVID. And I think this around COVID made a lot of people reflect on what do I really want from life?
Yes.
There was a
Yes.
lot of career shifts. There was a lot of relationships shifting. Well, I had thought during that time, I was like, well, what would I want to do? What would I want to bring to this world? And I've always loved, female founders, female executives, that they needed to have a greater voice in the market. And so I thought, well, what if I take what I know about marketing and what I know about social media and combine that and teach female founders how to create a voice online? Not as like a picture perfect voice, because I'm not into like, I'm like, I want like
Right.
authentic friendships, real connections. And so as I was doing that, I was launching this program, and I met a friend, and she's like, "Hey, what's your human design?" I clearly remember feeling the words of like, "What is that? What is human design?" And for all of you that don't know, it's a personality test, kind of like Strength Finders and Enneagram, but people love it 10 times more because it goes 10 times deeper. It's incredible. So I kind of dove into that world of like, I always loved personal development, always loved that area. As I was diving into human design and feeling, because it is a little wacky,
A little
it's
woo.
a little
Yep.
woo woo for sure. But I just felt so much more free and so much more aligned in who I am and who I'm meant to be and how I'm meant to operate. I was like, okay, this is way cool. This really taps into like, I love being a cheerleader for others. I love helping them to see their full potential. So I ditched the social media program, and I launched a human design focus program. And in 6 months, it was in 6 different countries. So
That's incredible.
yeah.
There's two things that I really love about what you just said that again, the universe brought us together for a reason. I too love amplifying women's voices, and that's what I love about podcasting, which for me was a huge plot twist. I did not expect to start a podcast. People had said before, "Oh, you should do that," because wrote a weekly blog for 6 years and, "Oh, that would translate into a podcast content." No, no, I'm not comfortable talking and being on camera. So, I love bringing female founders' voices and those to the surface. So, I've had some amazing conversations. And then just that authenticity piece, because that is so important to me as well, and I think that there are so many ways in our daily lives that we are forced to perform or that we have fallen into those expectations of others and we perform. And so now I love that in this day and age that we are starting to say, okay, you can take your mask off, like you don't really, we don't have to do that anymore. Not certainly time and place, but it's just that we are creating a more welcoming environment. So I love that you did that and that you listened to what your true voice said.
Yes, and I do. I think that true voice is such a huge impact. One of the other programs that I've developed is how do we interfere with ourselves? We all have patterns of interfering, and quieting our voice is one of those interferers. Not being able to say the things that are on our hearts and on our minds actually sabotages us and sabotages peace and success and relationships and all the things. The more that we can lean into our voice and really utilize that in a way that helps amplify our goals and our dreams is crucial in what happens next to us.
Yes. I heard from my online yoga teacher who I've been with for years. What your heart wants matters. When I'm working with clients and on retreat, I talk to women about that, what your heart wants matters. Now, do I always put that into practice? Sometimes it's hard because you do have expectations from others, but
Yeah,
um
and we talk ourselves out of what we want. I tell my clients too. I'm like, if you want it and if it's on your heart, it's there for a reason. You're already qualified enough to get it. We just need to build a pathway there. Building a business is like 95% in our minds of like what we can and cannot do, what we feel pressure to do, how we feel like we need to build things. And it's just such a mind game. If we can open it up and shatter that, that's like most of the battle.
Yes. What was going through your mind, and maybe talk us through some of the emotions you were feeling when you thought, okay, this is the business I'm going to start and now I'm going this completely different direction.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I told myself, I was like, okay, should I just release this whole social media? I mean, I built a pretty good program. I know my stuff. I know marketing. And I was like, oh, I put so much energy into this. Should I release that? Should I pivot? And I had a lot of guilt in the pivoting. I thought, well, you know
Mm,
what? Like, this seems more, practical to go down this route. It seems like maybe that's a better money maker because who's going to want to learn about their human design? I mean, that's so niche. And so I had a lot of like going back and forth about, well, you spent all this time doing this one thing. Shouldn't you just continue? Should you not do it? And then I had a conversation with myself and with people that I trust. And I was like, you know what? I just feel really passionate and this internal intuition feeling that I should drop it and release and focus in on human design and like what's going to happen next. I don't know, but that's kind of the feeling. And so I had to really trust that inner feeling. I think it's probably just mostly me inside was like, who's really going to go for that?
right. Yes. I mean, I get that's a very different. Now, I'm someone who's heard of it and has had my own human design chart. So certainly there is a population out there that is open to that. I love that you brought up the guilt though, and I think that's where we do as entrepreneurs have different business ideas all the time. I've had a full-time career up until last fall and always had a passion project. And my passion project has changed gears multiple times. And I used to be called the brave kind because my curriculum was focused on courage and compassion. I led retreats, I had a course, and now Thrive with Christy is a different framework that Thrive is an acronym. And I think it is hard. We can get down on ourselves of like, oh, I'm not really committed to that. But your businesses have to constantly evolve. And I think even if you look at corporate businesses, you have to innovate, you have to stay ahead of the game. So this is like real time me talking to myself of like, oh, maybe we just need to treat it that way of any business that's out there evolves and so can we. And
Yeah, and I think you're right, like, innovation is what keeps things alive, and as we innovate and we look at, like, big brands, like, back in the day of Blockbuster and why they died because they didn't innovate. Here was Netflix coming into the story and be like, "Hey, we're gonna ship DVDs to people," and then they were the first to embrace streaming, and I was like, now it seems like, oh, duh, but I think that innovation is key to creation and we can do it in a way that feels really centered on who we are and our values. Because I always bring things back to like, what are our values and what are the values of the business? And that's kind of the beacon and the lighthouse of what we do going forward.
that makes so much sense to me. I'm working through a personal branding kit on Canva to work with Maggie Blackburn, who is out there talking about portfolio careers, which I find really intriguing. And so we're working together later this week, and I've been having to look at values. What do I stand for? And yeah, I launched the other business 5 years ago. Things have changed. We're not in COVID anymore. You and I were talking about right before we got on about AI, and AI is not going anywhere. So we can either embrace it or and use it to our advantage or not. And I think some of the programs that incorporate AI can be useful.
Oh,
But
totally. I do. I think AI, and I'm looking at and studying how AI and personal development is working, and people are using it almost a greater percentage in personal development than they are using it for tasks and things. They're talking to
interesting.
it. Yeah, it's crazy. They're talking to it. As I was developing my app, that's one of the things I wanted to include is this peace coach, but done in a way, it's an AI tool where people can talk to it, but it knows your human design and it knows what your inner fears are. And so it's actually talking and reflecting back different things. And it's been so cool to see it be used with my clients and helping them to have peace in a way that fits us. And that's what I think AI is so good at. It's like, okay, what are you struggling with? What do you need help with? And it's like, does its magic. It's crazy.
Yes. I keep going back to the fact that I have blind spots when it comes to my business or how I think, and working with a coach or working with your app helps you see those blind spots. And we can get so caught up in the emotion of what we're going through that it's hard to see that objectively. So it's great to have friends who do that, to have tools that do that. Well, thinking about AI, I don't know if you sat in the session in Create and Cultivate, but oh my gosh, let's talk a little about this event where we didn't meet and we should have. But you posted about going to Create and Cultivate in Austin a couple weeks ago. I saw your post and reached out and said, "Oh my goodness, I was there too." What led you to attend Create and Cultivate?
Well, it was interesting. So a few weeks before South by Southwest, I had seen, and again, I live in Dallas, or next to the city that you grew up in, and it's so
Yes.
crazy. And I have never been down there, and I thought it was just kind of more music and arts, but I know like in the past years I've seen some things about business, and I saw a post from Female Quotient saying, "Hey, we're going to be at South by, come to our event." And I was like, "Oh, that would be fun." And then I saw Create and Cultivate was having an event too, and I'm like, "Okay, that would be so fun." And that's how I kind of gauge things. I'm like, this sounds fun. I'm going to do it. You know, I try not to be rigid in business. I try just to think about like how things can be fun, because I feel like part of what I used to do in the past was measure things by, oh, I have to go to so many events.
Mm,
I have to do this, or things will fall apart. If I don't post every single day, the world will end. Do you know what I mean? Like all
I
these
do.
things. Yes, all the pressure of it. And I cannot have the pressure anymore. Like, especially with MS, any kind of pressure, I start to get really numb and tingly and dizzy. And I start to have all my
Mhm.
symptoms come on fully. Even the chair that I'm sitting in is super cushy and just cozy. And I found it on Facebook Marketplace and redid my room because I think it's fun, you know? I try to really do things that are fun. Now, I still check my emails. I still go through my email box, which is not fun, but I'll put on good music. So that's when, with these events, when they came up, I was like, you know what? That sounds fun. My husband and I can go down. We can make a weekend out of it, and he can do his events, and I can do mine, and we can just have fun.
Oh, well, I love that, and it was a very last minute decision for me, and I shared a little bonus episode of the pod that kinda led me there, and I decided that Friday before 2 days before the event, and I thought, "Well, I can go down, I'll stay with my parents because they live an hour from the event, I can get up early, leave from their house, go get in line," and I got in line at 8 a.m. because I didn't care. I didn't even know they were giving away swag bags, which I got one, and it was really
Ooh.
great, but I just wanted to make sure that I got in because I was using the free RSVP ticket. So I got in line super early, met an amazing young woman. Her and I talked the whole 2 hours. I had a great time. One of the things that you shared about your experience was about the line, getting in line, right? So
Y-
tell us a little
Yes.
about that.
Yes. I had gone to Female Quotient the day before and then had gone to Create and Cultivate. Now, with MS, with multiple sclerosis, I have this super fatigue. I feel like I have the flu all the time. And it's that flu, like where you feel like you need to be in bed and just like you can't think or feel. I feel that all the time. And there's cognitive things where I'm like trying to like sort through things. People talk about brain fog. I consider it more like brain cement, where I'm like Xing
Oh
things,
gosh.
like trying to get thoughts and things together. And so I really have to bring a lot of peace into my life. When I had my husband was my Uber, and so he dropped me off at the event. I got there like an hour before, and was in line, and I realized as I was standing there for 20 minutes talking to wonderful women, I was so excited that I was like, oh my gosh, because there was the first line, then we would check in, and then there was a second line to get into the actual
Like
venue.
the room of, yeah, where the events were happening, and yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, like the speakers. Yes.
Yes. So you had
Yes.
2 long line experiences.
And they were, and Create and Cultivate was really great. They told everybody, hey, there's going to be lines, just heads up. So as I was standing in the line, I realized that where I had started and where I was, that it was going to be a long wait, like an hour. And I thought, okay, can I do this? I don't think I can do this. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm having a good time talking to these women, but I'm starting to feel really overwhelmed. And I almost started to cry. That's how overwhelming it gets to be. Like, when you get so sick and you're just like, I can't do what a basic human should be able to do. And that's kind of the internal pressure that I have a lot,
Mm.
is what I feel like I should do. I'm having this internal voice inside of me like, you cannot cry. You're just standing in line. Just relax, take some breaths, center yourself. And then I thought, okay, I have 2 choices. Either I call my husband and be like, just come pick me up. I'm just going to go, because I was feeling so dizzy. With MS, there's a lot of battles that are internal and invisible. With a lot of disabilities and with a lot of emotional challenges, it can look like, oh, the person's normal. Why can't they do this certain thing? So I always battle with showing up and actually using my voice and saying, hey, this is what I'm actually feeling inside. This is what's happening, because that's the only way people will know. And so I thought, okay, I have 2 thoughts. I could call my husband, or I could ask for help. And I thought, okay, do I want to stay at the event? Yes. So I need to ask for help. So there's a sweet girl that was going around seeing, hey, does everybody have their QR code? And I told her what was going on. And she said, okay, hold on, let me get someone. She got someone. She got this sweet girl, Bria. And she came over and I told Bria what was going on. And she's like, let me get you out of line. She got me out of line. She got me registered. And then she took me to the second line, walked me up to the front, and told the security person, hey, when you let people in, let her in too. And I thought she was going to leave because, it was a busy event. But she said, I'm going to stay with you until you get inside. And I thought that was so sweet, because I think she could feel and sense how much anxiety I had with the whole thing. And she could see how much help I really needed. And so instead of just being like, okay, this is good enough, she's like, no, let me stay with you. And she asked me questions and we chatted. And then I was able to go in. And I told her, thank you so much for helping me to get into this event and just really seeing me for who I am and for being interested in how I'm feeling and doing.
That is such a testament to the beauty of humanity, the beauty of female sisterhood, and being able to, because there were men at this event, husbands and probably men being dragged along a little bit, but I think too that when we, as women, we tend to be the caretakers, we tend to be the strong ones, and asking for help is really hard. And I wanted you to share that story with the listeners, because normalizing asking for help. And when I was early in sobriety and I started my sobriety journey in 12-step meetings, and they would say the phone weighs 1,000 pounds when you're needing to reach out to someone because you felt like having a drink. And in that program, you have a sponsor, and so someone that's, dedicated to, kind of like Bria, you have someone who's dedicated to be there to help talk you out of whatever internal situation is going on. But it is hard to ask for help. And when we do, and when we have the courage to do it, so often it is rewarded, just like the situation with you.
Yeah, and it was so touching, and it really a part of what I want to bring into the world and what I want to voice is we all have things that are unseen, that are challenges that we're going through, and no one knows unless we speak about it, and no one knows what's the depth of it has been. It's been so beautiful to see even my clients who are like, hey, how are you doing? I want to make sure you're doing good. And they're like, you've given me permission to ask for help, to speak what I need, and to try and not feel guilty about it too, and try not to feel less than like, "Oh, I'm
Oh,
tough, I can do this
yes.
all," That's the part that's so difficult because I am so independent and I was way more independent before. That dialogue in my brain that's like, "I am still worthy. I'm still a good human. Just because I can't do this for myself doesn't mean I'm not meant to be in the room."
Thank you for pointing that out. My grandmother lived on her own until she was almost 100 years old. And so when I say independence runs in my genes, it is very true. And you're right that independence that we feel like we're giving up when really it's, we are worthy of asking for that help. I volunteered for Meals on Wheels for years, and I know that was what was so hard for a lot of the clients on Meals on Wheels was giving up that independence once they couldn't drive, or wasn't safe for them to drive. And some of them would come off the list because their child would have signed them up for it, and they're like, nope, nope, can't, don't want this help. And so there's so many different ways that shows up.
I think yeah, too, as women, we wanna serve, and part of our identity is serving and nurturing and helping, and it's hard to receive that help. And I've really learned that there's so much benefit in receiving help and receiving, not only for me, it's an opportunity for someone to serve me and for me to appreciate them in a way that builds our relationship together.
One of my friends said one time, in relation to accepting help, that then we're not begrudging the person who's offering the help. Like it lights them up just as much as, just as it does us. So yes. So you're right. Like we can create that reciprocity when we say, yes, you can help me because we just made that person stay. It's a good thing to remember and take away and apply in our daily lives.
Yes. Yeah.
What was one of your favorite things about that event? I mean, aside from that beautiful connection with that human being, what's the couple of big learnings that you had from that? I loved that event.
Yeah, it was amazing. And one of the things I tend to forget because I work remotely is that it's so nice to be in a room with people, like human beings. It's so wonderful. And with your retreats too, like being in the room is just such a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
It reminded me that I really want to be intentional about being in certain rooms. Now, before COVID, I think I was in too many rooms and got too much, like too many networking things. And so I really want to be intentional with what rooms I'm at and saying yes to those rooms. It was just a really beautiful thing listening to JVN when he was speaking. He was
Yes.
so good.
So
Oh,
good.
it was amazing. And I was so in just loved his story about how he had to relearn how to his dynamics with money. He was like, if I had $1 in my bank account or $1 million, I would spend it. And he had to really rework that in his mind. He said his entrepreneur journey gave him his own MBA in business. And it just reminded me
Yes.
that no matter where we are on what it seems like people have it together because he's in the public eye or whatever, we all have this same journey. We all put our pants on one leg at a time, and we all go through these things. We all have these mental blocks, whether it's money or it's worthiness or it's all the things and above. It's all going to come at us, and we either get to opportunity to work through them or just keep butting up against them.
Yes, the realization when he said multiple times that he was a people pleaser and being so transparent about that, and through line of my show, or the foundation of my show, is for recovering people pleasers. And so to know that he's, like you said, he's gotten that far and he's had such success, but he acknowledges where he's had gaps along the way that he's had to work through, whether that was financial responsibility, or he mentioned he meets with his therapist a lot around
Yes.
his codependency and his people pleasing. So
Yes.
testament to therapy, we should all have one.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I think so too. I think it seems like everybody resonated too with the people pleasing, which I think is just it's a sabotaging character. It's one of the interferers in my system is people pleasing. It is so funny to see those patterns, and I just have him be so authentic about his journey was just so
yes.
refreshing.
The level of energy that he brought to that room was incredible, and so I enjoyed all of the sessions I attended, and I was ultimately very glad I went, and even though we didn't meet at the event,
Yeah.
it's also the reason that you and I met, so
Yes.
love that. Well, I am intrigued by women who have paved the way with podcasting because, again, I was not going to do this. It was something I reluctantly started. I think I didn't know exactly what to have that main message be. And
Uh-huh.
when I was gearing up to leave corporate, I started it thinking, well, that's kind of what I'm going to lead into is like busting out of the norms and the responsibilities that we think we have to have. So you have been at this for quite some time, right? When did you launch your
Yes.
podcast?
I think it's been 3, maybe it'll be 4 years this
Wow.
something like that, yeah, this, fall, but yeah, I didn't think I was gonna start a podcast either. It was actually one of those, "I should start a podcast," you know? Even as I was thinking about the shoulds of what I should do, I realized how much I loved utilizing my voice, and it was a gift that I was born with. It pointed that out in my human design. And when I did my first few episodes, I was like, "Oh, these are terrible," because I was just doing solo episodes, and then I thought, "Okay, well, what if I just play with it more? What if I just have more fun? What would I wanna do?" And I thought, "Well, it'd be super fun to bring on a guest each time and, like, have a dynamic that we could talk about different things," and so it's kind of evolved from there, and, with having guests on each time, it's just such a beautiful way to make real connection, which is such a value of mine.
That's the way that I was with my first episodes. And I feel like I hear that so often. And that's one of the things, especially on retreat, that I try to get people to go from stuck to starting. Oh, I don't think I could do this. I don't, well, anyone can. And I know it takes a different level of courage and bravery depending on who you are.
Yeah.
But if I go back and listen to my first episodes, one of them I think I might actually pull down because it's so bad, but you learn and you grow, and I think back to writing, Ernest Hemingway said the first draft of everything is shit, or something to that effect. So
Yes!
the podcast is the same way.
Yes.
You're doing it and you're learning, and now you and I both use Riverside, which makes editing a snap, except for today when Riverside goes down. Everything has its flaws, so
I know.
it's kinda goes back to what you were talking about with pivoting. It's okay if you start one way and you end up transforming it into something else. I'm finding the same thing with the conversations, and I do a Wednesday conversational interview episode and then a Sunday shorty, which I do, 15, 20 minutes, just kind of riffing on different things going on in my mind and personal development stuff. So I'm enjoying both of those. Now, whether or not I can sustain several years of 2 episodes a week remains to be seen.
Yes. Yeah, and I think keeping it flexible, we don't have to be so rigid in what we do. And two, perfectionism, that's one of my inner
Mm.
fears as well, is like, "Oh, it has to be perfect, it has to be great." And I realize that that is such a sabotaging character in my mind that I'm like, "Oh, wait, I don't have to be perfect. I just have to kinda do the thing and call it good." It doesn't have to be 100%. 80s are great too, 80% is fabulous. I don't ever see someone like a podcast and be like, "Well, that was terrible."
Unless the audio is so bad you just can't
Yes.
listen to it, which I love the Hello 7 podcast, but she has a couple of recent ones where they recorded to have on video,
Uh,
and then the audio on those are pretty bad. I had it cranked up in my car, so it's like there are some things that are technical difficulties, but
yes.
it's never a reflection of you as a person either. The content that we bring forward is valuable. It just maybe the tech isn't agreeing with you.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
So you've learned through this podcasting journey to overcome perfectionism and then also this idea of just start before you're ready. Are there any other mindset shifts that you could share with someone who maybe is looking to launch a podcast or write a book or whatever the
Yeah,
project?
I just say do it. Do the dang thing, like get it done and just try and to have fun with it. You know what? Just infuse more fun and more joy into the whole thing because that's when everything shifts. And that's where it especially like people can sense the vibes if it has to be like, oh, I have to show up a certain way. And I noticed too, even on my podcasts because we have to get to a vulnerable place to talk about certain challenges and their human design chart and stuff like that and I can tell when guests feel like they have to be perfect and
Mm.
I hope I give space where I'm like we just show up as we are and that's great, so I just think have fun and drop the perfectionism.
That's great advice. Yes, fun and joy in everything that we do. Well, I love that you have modeled that for others, just having joy in your journey and the peace that comes with everything that you're doing. Tell us a little about what all you do. So, you have a website, you have an app, you have the podcast. How can my listeners find you?
Yes, they can find me. The best place is to go to roipeace.com and they can get their human design chart. They can find out their inner fears, take the assessment and find out what inner fears they have as well. And from there will be all the social links that you can connect and get in with Instagram and LinkedIn.
Excellent. I'll put all the links in the show notes too. But I can't wait to dive in when I'm on your show because I have been classified as a manifestor generator. And I'm curious to know all the things that come with that and also the inner fears. I think that's really interesting. And especially knowing my blind spots around people pleasing and perfectionism. But I'm excited to chat with you too. I feel like we could talk for hours, but we'll wrap up this episode and then I'll be over on your show. The way I like to wrap up my show is to ask my guests who their boat rocking role model is. So who modeled that for you in your life?
Ooh, that is such a great question. I think there's so many people that rock the boat that show me a different perspective. I think I look at my kids. We have 4 kids. A couple of them are on the autism spectrum and a bunch of challenges that they've had to go through. Their resilience and their ability to want to do the thing is just so beautiful to see. One of my daughters who has autism, she wants to go to law school and she's getting married this summer, she again, it's going back
Amazing.
to she looks fine, but there's so much going on internally and battles that she faces and I just think it's so incredible that she has given herself the tools to be able to do exactly what she wants. And my other daughter's going in law school right now too. We're gonna have a couple lawyers in the family. It's gonna
That's
be,
incredible.
I know it's gonna be amazing. And I just look at their resilience of going through their different challenges and how they're like, this is what I dream. This is the career I want to have. And I'm going to get there no matter what's in front of me. And I'm going to figure out how I can accommodate myself in order to get to where I want to be. And so for me, that's given me such hopes and inspiration of like, okay, I can accommodate myself too and get where I want to go, wherever that is. Because again, the dreams that are on my heart, I hope I've taught them too, is they can dream anything, they can go anywhere because they have all that they need just inside.
Absolutely. That is a testament to you being a boat rocking role model for them and also normalizing they can always change their minds. So I love that they are so determined on this path and that they are going to do those things and then having you as the example of how to transform and pivot if you find that you need that
Mm.
piece. Courtney, it has been an absolute joy having you on the show. I can't wait to be on the ROI of peace and for people to look to you to guide them in their human design and help them find peace themselves. So thank you so much. And thank you all for listening.
It's been great. Thank you, Christy.
You've been listening to Rock the Damn Boat, a podcast produced and recorded by Christy Hughes. You can follow, subscribe on both Apple and Spotify, and your 5-star review goes a long way. Thank you so much for your support of the show.